views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Hey, everybody. It is so great to be connecting with all of you. Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Welcome to Transformation Talk Radio. And those of you that are listening from wherever you're listening from, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so great, to be talking with all of you. We got a fabulous show today. Many of you have heard me talk a little bit about my own healing journey and, what that has been like. And as a result of that, I literally change the focus, not just of my life, but of this show to make sure that I was looking at all aspects of what life could be about, what thriving really means, and how to open the door to some things that are just not explained by, the incredible left brain linear way of doing things. And, thanks to the many, many, actually thousands of people that have been on the show in a good 13 years, we have been able to talk about some of the most incredible ideas that have been put into action. And today is one of those shows. But first, let me say hi to Mr. Benny. Hello, B.
What up, Pat? And this is the day of days for you. Of course, it's St. Patrick's Day or St. Patricia's Day. However
That's
you
right.
Really, really want it. I mean, so in honor, we should, of course, throw a little bit of tunes your way. I mean, it would be only appropriate, right? Oi, Irish. So get your green beer or whatever libations you preserve, and then you go for it. There you go, right?
Oh, my gosh. And, it's really funny because, when you have the Pat name, right, and you kind of grow up with that, it becomes a day of celebration, no matter how you look at it. It doesn't matter, that you come up in an Italian family or not an Italian family. It's still that day. And, that idea of being a Patty. Now, I have a couple of friends, Benny, that, actually almost everyone that knows me, Patty is what they call me. And I have a couple of friends that call me Paddy, P-A-D-D-Y.
Oh, yeah.
And I've even been called Patty Cakes. Okay? Now, I know you call me Pistol Packin' Patty.
I know. You've got a lot of little, I wouldn't even say surnames, but...
I've got, and I answer to all of them, Benny.
As do I.
No, I just answer to all.
But your Patty or Patricia is more of an Italian side of things rather than the Irish. But we're all just one people, so I think it's all agreed.
We really are all
right,
just one people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we really are just all just one people. That's what I'm saying. Wow, we got a great show. One of the things along the way, Benny, is that we get to tap into parts of ourselves that some of us didn't even know existed. When we talk about healing, and then we talk about healing with the power of our fingertips, something comes to mind. And, for many of you, that we've talked about medicine, we've talked about energy medicine, we've talked about the power and the purpose of intention, and yet here we are today where we're not quite fully understanding how completely empowered we can become about our own healing journey. And that's why today I'm so thrilled to have, both Deborah and Paul joining me here today. And let me just tell you a little bit about who they are. Deborah is somebody that I want all of you to know about for a lot of reasons. Deborah Schildhouse is somebody that has written the book BioTouch, Healing with the Power in Our Fingertips. And what is this book about? Well, here it is. The book is about helping all of us understand what I had to learn the hard way. And that is that we absolutely have within us the ability to rise up, and we'll talk about that, to rise up and discover what we can do to heal ourselves, others, and especially our loved ones. So what happens when we hit that place of helpless and hopelessness? What do we look at in our lives? Where do we turn? And this is what today's conversation is about. We turn to things that perhaps some of us may be growing up, whether you're Deborah growing up in Cincinnati or you're me growing up in New York, we turn to places that seem to show up for us, that send us on a pathway of discovery and of resurrection. Paul is joining me here as well today. Paul Buckey is a co-founder and executive director of the International Foundation of Biomagnetics. You're going to hear about this. But he was also instrumental in bringing the conversation to a new level. And that means practitioners, people that know and can understand what are you ready, magnetics is, but what BioTouch is. And is it like Dr. Oz has said, is this the next frontier? And is the next frontier here now? Deborah, Paul, it's great to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here.
Yeah, I want to talk about this idea of, I like to call it informed desperation. Maybe sometimes I like to call it not so informed desperation. But any of us that have been sick or have loved ones that have been sick, and I mean really, really sick, right? We turn to places that are sometimes divinely guided. Were you divinely guided, Deborah, to turn in this direction?
Oh, absolutely. What happened in my case was 6 years ago, my daughter came down with viral meningitis. And she was so sick, and she was in so much pain, and nothing the doctors were doing was helping her. And I had done back in the day, back in 1980, a movie had come out called Resurrection, and it blew me away because Ellen Burstyn played the role of a hands-on healer, and I was watching her take away people's pain and take away people's terrible symptoms of disease, and I thought, wow, you know what? I want to do that. And so when, my daughter came down with this viral meningitis, I tried putting hands on her. I tried bringing heat into my fingertips, and this was an old technique that I had tried years before, and it was just, it wasn't, something I could depend on. And certainly while she was so sick, it didn't work. And I was very scared. I mean, it was a horrible time. Thank goodness she went on to recover on her own and went back to her normal, healthy life. But I was forever changed. I really wanted to look for and find a way that I could have some kind of healing technique going on that I could depend on. And a year before, actually, I had read an article about BioTouch online, and I thought it was fascinating, but I just was busy doing other things, so I printed it off. I, put it in a drawer. Well, after my daughter's illness, I got that piece of paper out, and I read it again, and it just so happens that this BioTouch Center was here in Tucson where I live. And so I called, and I signed up to take a class, the introductory class. And when I got to the class, I was just blown away by the people that everybody there is volunteer. The BioTouch organization is it's a 501(c)(3). It's a nonprofit teaching foundation. So everyone there was a volunteer, and they would talk about how simple this little BioTouch method was, and even children could be effective right away. Yeah. And although I was skeptical at first, by the end of that 2-day class, I knew I had found BioTouch. It was definitely the technique I'd been looking for.
Wow. I get a little teary-eyed here. Benny will tell you that I do. because, and I don't know how to say this diplomatically, so I'm just going to say it. Maybe Paul will want to jump in. You know, you and I have been around for a while, and it gets really hard to watch our friends that are so very ill, and they've tried everything, you know, in, what do we call it, conventional, in the conventional world of medicine. And, you know, some things are very powerful and they do work. And to watch them and to watch them just not make it without knowing about, you know, what you're talking about, Deborah, or reading your book or understanding it, or even thinking something like, if I dare say, Paul, something like, you know what, the doctors have told me I'm too far gone. Nothing can help me. And I would love to ask you about that, either Paul or Deborah, either one of you, because I know that you have both have had to hear that time and time again. Have you?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I would have to use my mother as an example.
Yeah.
She was had an emergency situation. They put a pacemaker in her heart. The heart punctured her heart. They put her on the operating table. They didn't get enough blood to her brain. She died on the table. And by the time they could finish the operation, she was in a coma, and the prognosis was, if she lived, she'd be a vegetable. And at that time, I'd already known BioTouch, and I was in Hawaii with my brother, and we decided I should go to Denver to the hospital. And I went in there, and I just started working on her in the coma. And I did BioTouch 3 times a day. And the amazing thing, all the nurses and doctors were amazed that she wasn't taking any metabolic medication while I was working on her, even though she was flat on her back for 3 weeks. If her blood pressure would go in dangerous places, I would do the blood pressure set. They didn't have to give her medication. The main part that I learned there while I worked on her for 3 weeks was all the suffering I saw of all these people that were there for their loved ones in ICU and intensive care, and they had nothing to do. They were sort of helpless and hopeless. And I realized at that time how important it was for me to get BioTouch out to people, because it gave me, and I knew it could give them, something they could do in a usually helpless situation.
Yeah.
The short of the story was, actually 6 months later, she was walking on a beach in Hawaii. And
wow.
And that was just an amazing opportunity, and really changed my life to get BioTouch out to the masses of humanity and into family structures. And so it just gave them something they could do right along with standard medical practice, not instead of.
Oh. Well, I want to ask you this question when we come back from break, both of you. You know, listeners have heard me say many times what an enormous statement Dr. Oz made several years ago when he talked about energy medicine, and so forth and so on. You know, while I'm pretty sure he doesn't walk around practicing, it really had an impact in the world. Now, the world that the three of us, are really quite familiar with, but people listening may not be. And that's why I love, Deborah, the book. I love what you've put out. And Paul, I love that you're getting the word out there and getting information through practitioners. And when we come back from break, I would like to explore, you know, the journey of BioTouch, what the journey was like for each of you in taking the message out into the world, because I see this book as part of that, taking the message out into the world, and what are our modern day challenges with this. And it's got to be, if I'm both of you and I'm thinking, wow, I know how powerful this is, one of the things has got to be, how do we get the powerful message across to people that really need it? Let's take a short break, everyone. We'll be right back here. Deborah, as well as Paul, and we've got some amazing information to share with you. We're going to tell you how to get a copy of the book. I'm going to tell you lots about how you can find a practitioner in your area. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Join the Pacific Northwest EFT Tappers at the 6th Annual Tappers Gathering, March 19th at Bastyr University in Seattle. You will learn EFT applications, forge a strong community, and share healing stories. The event raises money and awareness for EFT tapping scientific research. Net proceeds go to our 501c3 nonprofit to further prove the efficacy of EFT. Bring your cards and information for a fun and inspiring day of networking. Visit nwtappersgathering.com or call 360-661-6877.
Have you ever tried to make lifestyle changes but had difficulty following through? Imagine what it would be like to get up each morning with energy, clarity, and motivation to tackle the day. If you want to get past limiting barriers that are preventing you from living your best life, join holistic health and wellness coach T. Carrie Mitchell each month on the Dr. Pat Show, or visit lifestyle120.com today and start to receive the personal attention you deserve.
What if we really didn't have to die to go to heaven? Are you curious about the afterlife or rebirth? The highly anticipated new book from author Dr. Susan Allison, You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven, is available now. Find out how to find guidance and healing in the spirit realms. Order the book today and put it on your must-read list for 2016. Visit drsusanallison.com to learn more.
Get into it for 2016. Do you want more prosperity, clarity, energy, and balance in your life? Join Lynn Brown now through March for one of her amazing workshops, each focusing on a key part of living your best life. For more information and to register for one of these amazing workshops, visit lynnbrownevent.com. That's lynnbrownevent.com. And get into it this 2016 with Lynn Brown. Artie Hoffman is the hottest psychic with the warmest heart and the host of the hit show Angels and Answers. A renowned psychic, medium, spiritual life coach, and an entertaining motivational speaker, Artie has helped over 15,000 people with his amazing intuitive gifts, his passion, and his humor. Call 877-ANGEL-02 to schedule a personal reading or to have your own psychic Artie party. That's 877-ANGEL-02. And visit artiehoffman.com and Angels and Answers on Facebook.
Are you ready to stop stress, anxiety, and low self-esteem from running your life? Join award-winning author Dr. Friedemann Schaub for Empowerment Radio and learn breakthrough solutions to switch out of survival mode and approach every day with great ease, joy, and purpose. Tune in the first and third Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific to Empowerment Radio with host Dr. Friedemann Schaub on Transformation Talk Radio. Visit thefearandanxietysolution.com to learn more.
Hey, everybody. It is so great to be connecting with all of you. And pretty soon, all of you are going to get to hear a little bit more about my journey. I know you've been asking me about it. You've been saying, you know what, some of us have not listened to you for over 13 years, Pat, and we know you went on a journey, a healing journey. But my job is to help bring people like Deborah, like Paul, to all of you. And their stories, their journey, and the action they are taking in the world to save lives, that's what today's show is about. Deborah, Paul, here, the question is, listen, yeah, Dr. Oz may have opened the door, but we have to get this message to people that really could benefit from it. And I know this little show here has been one way to do it. I know both of you have been out in the world, and I've got to ask you this question. What challenges do we have in our contemporary day and age to get this message out there and save lives? I know your book is part of that, and maybe, Deborah, you can talk about how the book does that. But, Paul, how about you?
Well, I would have to say the greatest challenge in getting this out is the simplicity of it. I think we've been so brainwashed to believe that healing has to be difficult, that you have to envision all kinds of things, or you have to go to a practitioner who is a professional in that or an expert in their field. And with BioTouch, there are no levels. Everybody's effective the very first time they do it. And it's one of the only Western so-called energy medicine techniques that I know of. It was created by a mining engineer in Colorado in a little town of 900 people that I met him. And I was the town hippie, and he was the big burly Navy guy. And the story of him and I meeting is in Deborah's book, she'll talk about. But it's just an amazing little story that showed how simple a healing technique can be. And what got me inspired was a little old man in this town said to me, Norman and Carol, the people that were doing the technique, Norman and Carol brought love to the Mancos Valley. And I thought, that's it. Here's a healing technique that's just about sharing what we all possess, which is love. And we just somehow put it into a system that Norman had created in 1970 that does it through light touch of the index and the middle finger of each hand, touching a series of points on the body. And that's the only amount of belief system that's necessary, is just to do the technique.
Wow. Deborah, are you, I love this. I mean, both of us can sit here and listen to this and think to ourselves, wow, have we arrived? Are we at the place where we're at least going to be able to get this a little bit? And I want to hear, from your perspective, how did you two meet?
Well, it's interesting because when I went to the BioTouch Center for that first class, Paul was not one of the instructors that day. But I was so fascinated by what I had learned. I wanted to learn more, so I wanted to take a second class. And so the day that I came for the second class, he was there. And when I met him, it was really funny because I felt like I had met him somewhere before. He just seemed familiar to me. And, we never had met, but there was just something about him. And as he was teaching that class, it was just more and more fascinating. I just wanted to continue learning more about BioTouch. And so I actually signed up to be an intern so that I could join the volunteers there at the center because I wanted to work on people. I wanted to be able to touch people and help them feel better. And I was doing that. I had done it for about a year. I was one of the practitioners there at the center. And one day Paul said to me, I wish somebody would write a book about BioTouch so that more and more people could learn about it and they could help each other maybe all over the world, just to help each other in, neighbors and friends and family units, because BioTouch brings down pain levels, it brings down inflammation, and it alleviates symptoms of disease, and many people don't even have access to medical care. So when he said he wished someone would write the book, I just went, bam, I could do that. I mean, here I had, for over a year, I had seen all these people that I had personally touched. They were transformed. I mean, their pain was gone, even arthritis pain. I mean, I even worked on a woman who had a broken heart. I was helping people emotionally in the grieving process. And so I knew that I could share all these amazing stories. And then also I knew that I could talk about my own healing journey. And then about Paul's life, because I had heard snippets of his life, and, he had been on a spiritual journey since he was 5 years old. And I was very, very curious to know more about his life and what brought him to where he was. He has already been volunteering for over 25 years, sharing and teaching BioTouch. I mean, he's devoted his life to it. So I had him come over my house once a week, and I interviewed him for his part in the book. And, yeah, I was fascinated. He had some very interesting stories. He lived off the land. He lived in a 100-year-old stone house without running water, electricity, gas, garbage pickup, any of that, with a group of like-minded individuals for 4 years. And, I mean, they would swim in the river with beavers and all kinds of crazy things. And it was funny because as he would tell me the stories of his life up into and then finding BioTouch for himself, it was funny that he and I had ended up in the same place at the BioTouch Center. We had taken very different paths, but we were doing the same kinds of things over the years. We didn't know each other, and, we lived miles and miles apart, but we were actually doing the same kind of things. And the interesting thing is that we did wind up there with the same vision, and that is, to help people realize that they do have the power in their own fingertips, and that all around the world they could help each other in a community of healing.
I want to ask you about this, Paul, and Deborah, I also want to just congratulate you on just a beautiful book, an amazing book.
Thank
because
you so much.
I personally struggle with taking my journey and my story out there, and you've done this in such an amazing way. It is really the kind of thing that people will pick up and read and know that there is a next place to go. I want to talk a bit about, I went to the website, Paul. Yeah. I went to the website justtouch.com, justtouch.com. And when I went to the website, of course, I was looking for how do I learn how to do this? What can I do? But then I went to health conditions. And when I looked at this, I thought to myself, wow, how are we going to get the word out about this? And I was especially struck to read about Lyme disease. Because as you know, or maybe not know, this is the fastest growing epidemic we have. By far, it's already past AIDS, HIV. But can we talk for a minute about health conditions? Because I think it's important for us to really step back a minute and say, yes, healing touch technique. But what is it about BioTouch? How does it work? So that it literally does address these conditions you have here. And Paul, I'd love for you to share a story or two as well.
Yeah, that's always the question that people give us is, how does it work? And I think we sort of pride ourselves on going, we don't really know.
Exactly.
and I think that's important, even though we have lots of data. We have we did lots of research with 3 different doctors and did a lot of questionnaires of people and did blood tests and things like that. And we found what the effects were. But, we still don't know why it works or what's going on at a deeper level. We just know that if we take those 2 fingers of each hand and lightly, like a butterfly, touch a series of points, the body seems to correct problems. And so what we did on our website is we just listed some of the conditions that are out there. But BioTouch will address any condition. Yeah. And the way that people do that is just through this. You can download the manual parts of it for free on our website, and then actually get the whole thing just by being a member.
Yeah.
And it's a real simple technique. And then it only takes like 2 or 3 sets of points, like for a sinus problem. All you'd have to do is what we call the greeting and the sinus set, and maybe the allergy or the infection set. And so you're talking only about 5 minutes of doing work with people. When you're dealing with things like Lyme disease or fibromyalgia, you might be taking 10 or 15 minutes. But we share with you on our website what sets of points. There's only 17 sets of points. And we just take you through it, and we can take you through it through a Skype, through online, through a telephone. We can do it through we're making little workbooks of all those conditions. That's the process we're doing now, where people can just learn what they need. So they don't even have to learn the whole technique. They could just learn the few sets of points they need for a particular condition and start doing it right away.
Wow. Do you ever wake up, and, I want to ask you this question and talk about it when we come back. Do you ever wake up and kind of have to pinch yourself, with the realization that this is something, Deborah, that not only that you were very, very grateful as you share that you discovered, but now here you are writing about it? When we come back, we're going to hear from Deborah about that. We're going to talk about the book, BioTouch, Healing with the power in our fingertips. And then we're going to talk more about what is and what has Paul made available for people. How is it that you all could learn this, like now? Let's take a short break, everybody. We'll be right back.
Put a little woohoo in your life with Keys. Keys Clear Protein Waters have 22 grams of smile-making, attitude-adjusting protein in every bottle. Did I mention its tongue-tingling taste? Not just another guilty pleasure. With Keys, you'll enjoy every low-sugar sip and freedom from gluten, lactose, and GMOs. Who needs the fountain of youth when you can find Keys on Amazon or at Keys, Kees, please.com. Put a little woohoo in your attitude with Keys Protein Water.
A word of caution. If you prefer the status quo and you are not interested in improving every aspect of your life, this book will trigger the shift out of you. The Truth is Funny, Shift Happens is available now. Author Colette Steffen brings the powerful knowledge and life-changing energy and empowerment from the radio airwaves to the pages of her new book. To get your copy in paperback or ebook, visit thetruthisfunny.com today.
Shine On Radio. Find Your Shine with Kelly is the show that celebrates what makes you, you. Join co-hosts Kelly Wadler and Dr. Pat Basili as they break down how to brilliantly fuel and move your body and love what makes you shine. Kelly is a professional arts and wellness coach dedicated to helping brilliant women find their confidence, energy, self-love, and shine. Tune in to Shine On Radio with Kelly and find your shine on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Hi, I'm Leslie Fontaine with Sheer Alchemy on Transformation Talk Radio, and here's my tip of the day. Let's talk about unlimited thinking. Let's talk about limitlessness. What would it look like and feel like? Is it only for special people? What if you aren't living a very abundant, powerful life right now? Is this opportunity closed off to you? Absolutely not. This is your chance, without lifting a finger, even telling anyone around you, or leaving the house. You can begin to step into all that you are and all that you were meant to be. Pay attention to the arguments that arise as you articulate the limitlessness of your opportunities, your finances, and the loving and supportive friends and family members around you. Draw them in. Let's shift those agreements from the lower level energies to those that allow you to step into all that you are. Visit me at lesliefontaine.com and listen to Sheer Alchemy on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
What is a master soul gardener? With Nomi Bahar, you can be one too. Her revolutionary Gates of Power method is a comprehensive program that addresses every aspect of yourself and gives you the tools to tend to the seeds of your soul's garden. Let Nomi guide you through and beyond what's holding you back and help you embrace the life you've always dreamed of. To learn more about upcoming classes and workshops, visit gatesofpower.com today.
Wow. Hey, everyone. I'm Dr. Pat. Thank you for tuning us in, turning us on. I so want to let you know that if you've missed any part of this show, and I've opened up the phone lines for those of you that would like to call in. It's really, really a great show. I'm honored. I didn't expect to have Paul here, but I'm thrilled. You know, I've got two people that are so passionate. Why? Because they know this works. And what they also know is it's not for 1 or 2% of the population to be able to administer. So when we're talking today about, and first let me mention it, BioTouch, the book, Healing with the Power in Our Fingertips, we're also talking about a movement, a discovery, the next step, the action. But we're also talking about the challenges that, all of us face when we don't know any better and we get confusing information about healing. I know for me, the decisions I made, thanks to Dr. Darvish and Mary Jane Mack, oh my gosh, I can't even begin to tell you how amazingly crazy in a good way, Mary Jane Mack is. Just forget it. The lives she's been able to save, because you know what? This is what we're talking about right here. The work that she does, this is it. This is what we're talking about. Healing beyond boundaries. Oh, maybe that should be my book title. But I want to get right to Deborah, and I want to get right to Paul. Before we jump back into this, can each of you please let folks know, Deborah, for you, how do you get a copy of the book? What's your website? And Paul, same thing for you.
Yes, so my website is DeborahSchildhouse.com, and that's DeborahSchildhouse, DeborahSchildhouse.com. There's a lot of information about BioTouch, about the book, and you can also get the book at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any of the major online booksellers that comes paperback or Kindle. And you can also buy the book at justtouch.com, which is the BioTouch website.
Yeah, and, that's what I love to say. Amazon Kindle, right? We can listen to books. We can read them on our phones now. I mean, this is it. Now, Paul, the question for you is, why do we want to get the book? How is it going to help us?
Yeah,
and tell us about your website where you're literally giving away the healing method over there.
Well, pretty much. You can't really charge people for the truth, and this is one of those techniques that's just true. It's for all humanity, and I think humanity's ready. We were talking at the break about some of the blockages, and I think there's enough people now who are ready to add something to their healthcare program without stopping standard medical care. And this is just one of those things that can be added to the program, whether you're doing chemotherapy, whether you're in a hospice program. Just by adding this, just brings, if nothing else, a sense of well-being to people. And when we're sick or we have some of these major diseases, just that alone can be a healing. And
enormous.
Not just
enormous.
For the sick, but also for the loved one who's sitting there and wanting to participate in a healing process. So we've worked with people in hospice, and many times people have said, this was the one technique that gave us hope. And we knew that wasn't about hope to live because the body was dying. There was a deeper hope. There was a sense of well-being for both the person passing on and the person that was being left behind on the earth. So BioTouch is just a great opportunity for all of us, and Deborah wrote that book to make it comfortable for all of us to understand a healing modality. And I really honor what she did, because she really exposed a lot of her own deep, dark secrets and fears and things that we all have. And to make those public was a big challenge for her, and she did a really good job in that. So you're brought into your own fears, your own challenges, and then you're given a hope. A hope that there is something that everyone can do to bring healing into relationships. So the book is a good way to get us feeling comfortable, and then it takes you right to our website, to our organizational website, which is justtouch.com. And there we have a lot of testimonials. We actually just put a new search engine on where you can look up anything you want if it's a particular symptom of a disease or a disease, and it's starting to show all the testimonials, also the different points or things that you might do to take care of that problem. And so justtouch.com is the way that you can then go learn it. We have the ability, and we do pretty much give it away. I mean, at our center, all of our sessions on a donation basis, you can download the whole ebook version of our manual just for a membership of $18. Yeah. And that gives you access to other workbooks too, and the whole manual. And you can put it right on your computer, on your tablet, and take it with you wherever you go. It also gives contact information, how to get hold of us. It also gives where there's other practitioners around who've learned it around the world, everywhere from Egypt to India to Japan to Denmark, let alone many people around the country. But it doesn't take going to a practitioner to be able to do it, and the website is designed to make, hopefully make people feel comfortable that they, too, can apply this technique to their family and loved ones.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And please tell folks the website again.
Just Touch, JustTouch.com.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And,
thank you
and
so
as
much.
Paul was just talking about in terms of hospice, unfortunately, my mother passed away 2 months ago. And she had been in hospice for 6 weeks. She was 95, and, the last 6 weeks, were tough. And so I was able to put my hands on her and touch her with BioTouch. And I could see that already, the pain levels, were coming down. She was much more relaxed and less agitated and needed, less morphine. And it felt so good to be able to help her. It helped me to be able to help her and to help her let go. She also had short-term memory loss, but she always remembered the name BioTouch, and she would put her 4 fingers up in the air, the 4 fingers that we use, and she would say, "Oh, you're going to do BioTouch on me." That, for some reason, she always remembered.
Wow.
So what BioTouch does is it enhances whatever medical protocols are going on.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I wanted to really talk to. One of the things I had asked was, what do you think? What do you see as the greatest challenge? And at least for me, as I reflect back upon my own journey, it is bringing people to a table so that they can agree on at least something in common. Are we making any ground in bringing folks to a place where whether you're practicing, conventional medicine or complementary medicine or integrative medicine or functional medicine, that we come to the table and at least stop, not stop arguing, but stop belittling each other for something that may save lives. What do you think our challenges are?
I think just allowing, again, I said it earlier, it's about allowing simplicity. I don't think healing or life has to be as complicated as we've been taught to believe it is. And when we believe in simplicity and we start believing in one another as human beings who are all here for the same reason, just to love one another, I think healing begins to happen. Dialogue opens up. There doesn't become a distinction any longer between the healing energy modalities and conventional medicine. They're all here to help. And I think just opening up that dialogue and respecting each of our roles, whether you're an MD or an energy healer, that we're all here together and we're sort of like bozos on the boat. We're all trying to figure it out, and none of us have the answer. And this is a technique, I think, that empowers us to be able to sit at the table. When we see people do this, because our goal is to encourage people to grow in self-awareness, it gives them an inner empowerment to say, wow, I'm okay. I do know what's wrong with me. I can sit with my doctor and talk about my health care, and so BioTouch is an empowering tool, too, to be able to sit and have that dialogue with our medical practitioners.
Deborah, thank you, Paul. One of the things that I wanted to chat with you about as well is, how does this feel? As folks that are actually using this, right? You're working with other people. What goes on with each of you when you're in the process of this? What happens to your hands? What happens to your body? Because I think this is a mystery as well for people. Some folks believe, this is what goes on, and, you pick up other people's energy. But I would love to hear from both of you. Could you share your experience as practitioners?
Well, for me, when I am, performing BioTouch, I get very, very hot. My fingers, my arms, all the way in my solar plexus, my neck. For some reason, I burn up. And not everybody does that. For some reason, that's how it affects me. And my fingers get so hot, people notice. They say, wow, And I love the fact that as I start to work on someone, they immediately start to sigh and relax. And then I relax. So I'm not, it's not just them that is benefiting. I know I'm benefiting as well. And I have to say, it's humbling and it's gratifying to see this simple act of one human being touching another one and seeing the reaction, the smiles on their face, or they start to sometimes cry and experience something deep within them and share it with me. All of a sudden they'll start talking about some childhood memory or something. Some healing is going on in a very, deep place for them. And then, I worked on this one lady who, she had terrible arthritis in her thumbs, and the pain was such that her thumbs were pretty much immobile, and the pain went up her arms to her shoulders. And she would come in once a week, and I would, work on her. And I'll never forget the day that she came in. She had this big smile on her face. She hopped up on the massage table, and she put her hands up, and she wiggled those thumbs. And I burst into tears because I had some very small part, but an important part that I had played in helping this woman, feel so much better and be able to use her thumbs again. And, anyone can do this. And the challenge is that, people think they have to pay a lot of money, or they have to take endless classes and graduate and have different levels of mastery. And that's just not the case, not with BioTouch. And that's fine with me, because I could be thinking about, what I'm going to make for dinner, or the cute pair of shoes I saw on sale at Macy's the day before, and I don't have to concentrate. I can think about anything I want, and my fingers are still effective. And that's why it's for everyone. Doesn't exclude anybody. That's what I love about BioTouch.
Wow. I think that, this hour has gone by so quickly. I cannot believe it. There's so many things to talk about, and I want to make sure everyone here knows just to go to the website. There's lots of information here, and all you need to do is go to justtouch.com. justtouch.com. I did want to ask a couple of questions, though. Folks may be listening and saying, well, wait a minute, how do I find a practitioner? Are there classes that I can actually take? Definitely, this is a book, BioTouch Healing with the Power in Our Fingertips. You can certainly get that at the site as well. But, Paul, would you mind just pointing folks into a couple of directions here?
Yeah, well, if you live in Tucson or Phoenix, you can come here to the center. Okay. But for most of us, that's difficult when you're in Washington. So we've created ways to teach it online. We do have classes for those who want more of a structure. You can just learn it just by reading the manual. It's very easy to read. But if you want more personal direction, what we do is we give people a personal instructor, and we send them the manual, also the book, and we go through it with people either over a telephone or a Skype session, and we make sure you're doing the points correctly. And that's a way to get guidance in doing it. And that's really just how simple it is, And on site there is also a list of some of the practitioners who've been willing to put their name on there to see if there's one in your particular area. But the easiest thing is just to learn it and call us, and we'll just take you through it. It's just so simple. I mean, I can teach. Hopefully maybe one day we'll come on your site and on your program and just teach people through the radio. I mean, I've done that before.
Well, let's make it a date. Let's plan to do that.
Yeah.
We love it.
That's what I love about this.
Yeah,
let's
really
make sure that we do that. And, what I would love to be able to do with that is really schedule it so that folks can learn. But, isn't this really what we're talking about? I think that, in the past 10 plus years I've been doing this, I've seen a change. And so what is the change that I've seen? I'd like to hear from each of you. I've seen folks being more open to trying different things, to being, we're not even calling it alternative anymore. But I'd like to hear from each of you. What have you seen change in the past decade? And it doesn't have to be all good, but both pros and cons. What have you seen in the world of healing?
Well, what excites me is when you hear about kangaroo touch, where doctors are now taking newborns and they are wrapping them with the mom, naked, skin to skin, and they're seeing that touch, that basic human touch is needed and necessary, and it makes, the health of both the mother and the newborn just skyrocket, just so much better, because they're finally seeing, okay, you don't take a baby away and you wrap it up and put it in an isolette. No, you wrap it with the mom, because this skin-to-skin contact is just basic, and it's love, and it's what we need at our core. And the fact that mainstream medicine is seeing that, really, it's a hopeful sign to me.
And
wow,
I think
it is.
Where we've come to, there's been a lot of darkness. I mean, medical profession is, it's gotten expensive. People can't get it. We're looking at our political system, our social system, all around the world. It's like the darkness is exposing us to the opportunity to begin to love one another.
Mm.
And we have to have those dark moments. And in this, just even recently, everything's changing. People are talking more about reclaiming their birthright to be healthy, happy, and loved. I mean, we have that right. We were born with that right. And I think now that things have gotten so tough and people are really dialoguing about the dichotomies of life and social economic status, people are also seeking an alternative, seeking something they can do now to help them out of these dark moments. And so the people are opening up to, how do we just love one another? How do we care for one another? I mean, they're even selling cars, Subarus, being sold as love. So people are ready to talk about it. And that's the power I see. Humanity, I think, is ready to reclaim their birthright, to be healthy, happy, and loved. And that's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. What if you, I know that this has been a while for you and your healing journey and the work that you've also done here. Deborah, you talked about things that are most exciting. And I wanted to ask each of you, what kind of role, I know we've got a couple of minutes left. I just wonder what kind of role belief plays in all of this. What have you discovered?
Well, it's interesting. I'll take my husband as an example. He is an accountant, a CPA, and, when I first started getting involved in BioTouch, he was like, oh, God, what are you doing? That's weird, and those are weirdos, and, he was like, this is, no. And I persevered, and I worked on him when he had a sore neck, and he's like, oh, that's not going to help or anything. Well, he couldn't believe that his neck was so much better the next day, and now he comes to me. He's a hiker and a biker, and he always has an ache or a pain, and he comes to me, would you work on my knee? Would you work on my back? And so it's interesting how you can change people's beliefs, but they have to, they have to see for themselves, and once you've experienced it, then I mean, it's easy to put up, oh, come on, that's not going to work. It's too simple. It's, it's just touching somebody. But once they've experienced it, they get what's called this wow factor, we call it. And it's like the moment when they know there's some change happening deep inside, and it works, and then they know.
Wow. I want to thank both of you for today. And boy, the hour has gone by so quickly. I want to thank both of you. And I want to just ask you each, what's your personal message? What would you like to leave us with here today?
For me, it's just touch.
Just touch. That's it. You know what? There's so many people suffering out there, and BioTouch is hope. It's a gift to humanity. Just accept it.
Wow.
Yeah,
thank you both.
It was wonderful.
Thank you so very much. And you know what, Paul? Going to schedule that show
okay.
where you're going to be able to come back and we're all going to be able to learn this. Thank you all so very much. I want to thank all of you for tuning us in and turning us on. For more about us, and if you've missed any part of this today, you'll be able to hear it tonight. You can go to Transformation Talk Radio in the Dr. Pat Show. And stay tuned. Mary Jane Mack coming right up. We'll see you next time.
Preceding audio was via a Skype call.